Welcome back to Cycle's tutorial. We are creating a control panel app using Angular and Firebase. In this episode, we will disable authenticated user using Cloud Function Firestore events. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button to get more videos like this. In the last episode, we added list of administrators and stored the information in users table or collection. These users are now able to log in through our sign-in form. To prevent one user from login, we have to disable from authentication in the console. Now if we try, it will show that the user has been disabled by administrator. Let's enable the user, try login again. We are able to see the dashboard. Now we can add a disable button to do the same from the UI. Let's go to featured admin administrator, add a column action. Here add one column action in HTML and put a button. Let's name it disable and create a function. Now let's define the disable function in the class disable. We need to pass the user object. What we are trying to do here is we will add one property is disabled in the Firestore of user collection so that we will know if the user is enabled or disabled. Let's create a service for that. Under user service, we'll go to user service and copy the existing function so that we can rename it to update user. And then let's remove this snapshot changes part, user collection dot doc. So the doc will be the user ID. So we can define the type user and the property name will be user.id, which is actually the document ID in the Firestore dot update. In update function, we have to send the property payload. It can be a type of user model. Let's call the service function from disable event, this dot user service dot update user, and in first parameter we have to pass the user object and we have to create a payload which is nothing but a user model. This payload we can send as second parameter, and we have to add one property is disabled, which we are going to store in the Firestore user collection, and the type will be boolean. So we can set it to true when user is disabled and chain it with then function. The result can be console logged. We can put success message when user is successfully disabled, and we can show the error message if there is any error. Let's check in the browser and see how it works. We clicked disable button and can see success message in the console, and the property disabled is also true. But in authentication, the user is still enabled. We can enable or disable the user only from admin SDK. That means it can be done from the cloud function. So let's focus on it. We can create a folder named cloud functions where we can move all these handlers under it. Like on create, we can move under cloud functions. We'll create a new file named oncreate.ts. We can copy it from here and move it to oncreate.ts file and export the default function oncreate. Firebase path will be dot dot slash firebase, and let's import that oncreate file. Import statement cloud functions oncreate. So now that oncreate is exported, similar way we can create another file on update user or on user, let's name it user update.ts. Here we can create another handler, and in firebase.ts we will be needing auth. So const auth equal to admin.auth, this auth we have to use in our on user update function. So let's import Firebase functions star as functions. We also have to import auth and db from Firebase. Now let's define the handler on user update equal to functions dot firestore dot document. Here the document name is users slash the document id. Here you can say user id on update. In on update we have two parameters, change and context. From change we can get two different properties. One is before the update, another one is after the update. We are storing these two values in pre-value and post-value constant. After dot data. Now let's check this condition. If previously it was enabled and currently we are setting it to disabled, then only we will trigger auth dot update user function. So let's do that now. Auth dot update user, first parameter will be the UID and second parameter will be the property we are trying to set. So disabled true. Let's change it by then and we can catch it. The error message can be logged if there is any error. Now let's import the same into index.ts file so that cloud function can be deployed. So export const on user update handler equal to on user update. So export this on user update also as default function. Also during user add we have to add this is disabled to false as default. Now we are good to go. We can deploy these two cloud functions. Meanwhile, we can clear Firestore and remove all these authenticated users so that this newly introduced is disabled property is reflected everywhere. These cloud functions are deployed now. Let's check in Google Console. We can see both cloud functions. Let's try to add a new user. Clicking on add, yes, success. We can see it in Firestore and the is disabled is set to false. Now let's click on disable button. It is success. If we see here, we can see the user is disabled, and in Firestore, let's check the property is disabled is set to true now. In disable function of administrator component, let's put an alert of success message. Then let's put a disable property in disable button so that it is disabled when the user is already disabled. Let's check now. Okay, we are forced to the login screen since we already have disabled the user. We can use another login and can see the button is disabled now. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next video. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.